Welcome back to Connecticut Politics Live with Joe Aguirre and Michelle Botello. We are now joined by Ray Aramini. Ray, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, our pleasure. Now, coming up on February the 4th, Philip Lauter Park on Gordon Avenue in Willimantic. It is the 12th year now of the Plunge for Hunger, which you're the main sponsor of. Costumes strongly encouraged for this. I've hosted a couple of these, not this particular one, but I've done for Special Olympics, and it's always interesting to see the way people come dressed for these things. People generally tend to theme these things out, which makes it a lot more fun. CovenantSoupKitchen.org is where you can donate. Can you also sign up there as well?
What you can do as we get closer to the date post-holiday is that you'll be able to download a pledge sheet there that will have all sorts of information as well as a waiver to sign, and a sheet that has the ability where you can approach people and say, listen, I'm going to be doing this charity jump in the water for Covenant Soup Kitchen in February, and you can collect money that way. It also has a little bit of the history of where this began, why it began, and who it benefits.
Ray, for the Weak at Heart, can you donate without plunging?
For the Weak at Hearts, yes, there was very much so. Just go to CovenantSoupKitchen.org and look for the look for the polar bear.
Look for the polar bear
standing on a big chunk of ice, and we all know how much we love ice in the water.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to donate. I don't know if I want the ice in the water though.
But it's what it was when we originally started doing this. There was a group of people that they dubbed themselves the Smarties, that they were able to collect money and not go in the water. And they were a very successful group, and they still are proud and strong and representing each year.
That's my type of group. I just want to read your mission statement, which I found wonderful. Realizing that people can be impoverished physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and financially. Covenant Soup Kitchen provides food and access to basic services and an environment to care, love, support, and safety to those individuals and families from the greater Windham community who have come through the doors. We rely on the generosity of community and its faith to help us carry out this mission. And I also know that you have a free vaccination clinic. Is that correct?
First of all, the mission statement is, I've known many organizations over the years that have a mission statement and tend to veer away from that. Covenant Soup Kitchen never has. And it constantly humbles me when I will hear somebody talk about the mission statement, or I'll hear somebody talk about what we provide. And it humbles me because we do not deviate from that. We do not vacillate from that. It is a very guest-friendly program, a guest-friendly organization, and it has been since its inception. I'm on the board of directors there, and I'm a volunteer there. And every time I think that I've got a pretty good handle on who our clientele are, our guests are, I get very much humbled, and I realize that I see the generosity of our community, and I see the generosity of our guests. And first and foremost, I would say the generosity of the staff that each and every day are dealing with a very at-risk population, and they're doing this in a loving and caring way.
I'm sure that helps you continue this organization. It's such a wonderful organization, just seeing how people want to help and do what's right for others.
Very, very much so. In this line of work, you see true colors. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for people that are quote unquote do-gooders. This is designed for you. You need to be tough, and thankfully we have a group of people that are staff and volunteers alike that are keeping those doors open 365 days a year. I mean, I look at what happened during the pandemic. There was a choice to be made. We were either going to stay open or we were going to close. There was really nothing in between. Staying open was risky. So instead of just staying open, we expanded our services. When other places were closing down and not doing what their mission was, we expanded the services. And I credit wholeheartedly the director, Kimberly Clark, and the kitchen manager, Jen Chowski. They're the ones that drove that train.
That's outstanding. You know, Michelle and I have talked about this a lot on this program, pretty much since we launched that. You know, I think the need from families is a lot greater than it has been in years past. Obviously, we're still dealing with high inflation and high prices as a result of that. Are you finding that the need is even greater this year?
The need is greater. Yes, indeed it is. But it's gone from a time when pre-pandemic where it was fairly predictable to then the need was outrageous. Just we had people that were coming in. It was at times very difficult to keep track of what we were serving. We're putting out, when I say tons and tons of food a day, I mean tons and tons of food a day. Little old Willimantic, Connecticut Soup Kitchen, since the beginning of the pandemic, we're approaching 2 million meals that we served. And that's here. We're dealing to-go meals, and we're dealing with evening meals and home delivery and outreach and Friday night dinners, and whatever the need was, that's what we embraced.
I'm here in the Danbury area, and I've helped out with it's called Community Action Center, and it literally is just stores donating food, and volunteers pack it up. People come in their cars, and they're pretty much given a whole box of food. And what I've noticed, and this was in the spring when I volunteered, and I noticed I was driving by the other day. We're in the close to winter now. The lines were doubled, and they open at 1. So people started to line up around, I'd say maybe 12. Right. When I drove by, it was 8:30 in the morning, and the line was in the street. So it's getting worse. And so places like these organizations are so needed, and I hope people continue to help. How many people do you think have passed through the doors, roughly? Well, you say $2 million. 2 million meals. That's impressive.
It is rather staggering. And when we say pass through, the vast majority of that was outside, where we set up tents and we set up whatever we needed to do in order to distribute food during the peak of the pandemic. When I say this, I can't stress the gravity enough. We didn't miss a meal. We didn't miss a single meal through bad weather, through wind, through snow, through pandemic, through whatever. You cannot take this mission lightly of feeding people. It's not a hobby. It's not something that's quaint. It happens not only at Christmas and not only at Thanksgiving, but this happens 365. And I think the driving force behind our ability to do, I know the driving force behind this is our community, is our supporters. And by and large, a lot of $1, $2, $5, $10, and $20 donations. You have people that have given for the last almost 40 years to Covenant Soup Kitchen because of the quality work that is done there, the ability that this organization has proven year after year to treat people with love and respect. A lot of times I would think that it's absolutely just imperative to come to the soup kitchen in order not to be anonymous anymore. You're walking on the street, nobody's beeping to you, nobody's waving to you, nobody acknowledges you. And when you come to the kitchen, you're greeted with love and respect and hey, hi, how are you? Hey, did you ever find that shirt you were looking for? Whatever the conversation is. But the fact that you've gone from a scary homeless person or a scary mentally ill person or just a person down on their luck to a person that has a peer group and a, so to say, family.
I love your passion, and I love what you're stating about that. People, that's exactly right. Sometimes even more than a meal, people need acknowledgement and know that they're cared for. That's awesome.
Nobody wants to be hungry, and I can certainly say also that nobody wants to be anonymous. Nobody wants to be ignored. Nobody wants to be viewed as less than human. I think a lot of times in our society, we tend to judge people as far as looks and appearance and lack of mental health. And it's not really fair.
Right.
You know, you have an ability in a program like this to be able to change where the needle is and say, well, listen, I can do that here. I can do that at Stop and Shop. I can do that when I'm at the mall. I can be a little bit more accepting and perhaps a lot less hesitant to perhaps help out. And that's what, you know, that's really kind of what the Plunge for Hunger was born from. I wouldn't do this for anything else. The team that I coach, we wouldn't do this for any other cause. This is hard hitting. This is a way that we can give back to, you know, very, very candidly, money keeps doors open. And the ability to have knowledge or the ability to have notice of upcoming events that are good and caring and designed to keep a program that is this important open, people will support it.
Well, let's talk about the benefit concert for the Covenant Soup Kitchen. Boo at the Box, the Shabu All-Stars, including David Lefty Foster, Jeff Pitchell, who's always so active here in Connecticut, Christine Ullman, James Montgomery, and John Cafferty. Sunday, December the 18th, couple of shows, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Can we talk a little bit about this concert? Tickets are just $20. You can get them at eventbrite.com. Just search Shabu or Boo at the Box. Obviously, the funds are a little down this year at Covenant Soup Kitchen. What an excellent way. And this sounds like a pretty amazing time for people to come out and support the Covenant Soup Kitchen.
I take my hat off to David Foster and his wife Marilyn, as well as Bruce John, who have been the driving force behind the music that has supported Covenant Soup Kitchen for Shabu has for the last 5 years, and certainly Breadbox Music Series that Bruce John runs for the last 12 years. They are dedicated to the whole concept that feeding hungry people is a very important thing. So if you're able to do that through music, because that's what you're an expert in, then do it that way. If you're good at knitting, sell your knitted goods. If you're good at jumping in a river, then jump in a river. Do what you are good at in order to take that love that you have in your heart and perhaps the love that you share with others in order to support an organization that can pay that love forward. You know, I think it would be easy to just wring your hands and say, oh, fiddlesticks, I'm not going to give a damn about that. Well, it's important to give a damn. These are people that you went to high school with. These are people that were your neighbors. These are people that are your family. In many instances, these are yourself. So if you're hungry, how would you want to be treated? Would you want to be treated with love and respect? And undoubtedly, the answer is yes. And so if that's the case, then how do we do it? And part of how do we do it is supporting events like the Shabu All-Stars and supporting upcoming concerts and supporting the Plunge for Hunger and getting behind people that are looking to make a difference. I would much rather give and not have regret than kind of hem and haw. And again, you know, kind of wring your hands and say, well, maybe I should have, maybe I shouldn't have. If I was hungry, I'd want to be fed. If I was cold, I'd want to be clothed. If I was lonely, I'd want to be talked to. So take a risk and make that move.
Your passion is amazing, and we need more people like that. Do you find that the people that you coach have that same passion? They're there for the people. They want to do what's right.
I coach the best kids in the world. I coach Eastern Connecticut rugby, and I have now
cool.
for about 1,000 years. And 12 years ago, we had a couple of kids on the team that were doing a bicycle ride in order to make a fundraiser from Washington, D.C. to the Covenant Soup Kitchen. And they needed money to start. They needed seed money. And so the idea of doing a polar plunge, as it was then called, happened. And we raised $2,500 for Nick Fitzner and Pat Scully to do this ride from Washington. And after the ride, one of the guys in the team said, well, next year when we do it, well, you know, it'll be bigger. And I kind of took a little bit of a step back, and I said, well, what do you mean, Christian? His nickname was Donkey. And he said, look around. He said, this is just love. Everybody that's here wants to be here. And so we started doing it, but instead of funding the ride that these two gentlemen were doing, it's funding the soup kitchen directly. And it started off with maybe 30 people. And last time pre-pandemic that we did it, we had just under 300 people in the water and another 500 on the beach. And it is a carnival-like atmosphere. It is, people are dressed in costumes. There's music, there's a lot of camaraderie. And as I said, everybody that's there wants to be there. There's nobody saying, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. No, it's not the case at all. The rugby team were the original sponsors of this, and they have continued to. The Plunge for Hunger is actually, we're getting back to this, is named after a person that was on the board of directors and was a volunteer at the soup kitchen for years. Her name was Olga Isis, and she was one of the people that would stand on the side of the shore. She was one of the smarties and would not go in, but collect money just the same.
That would be me.
She was brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, it's pretty impressive. Now you have done all these rides yourself, correct?
I did 2 rides. I did a ride from the border of Canada to Covenant Soup Kitchen. It was called Bike for Bread. It was 500 miles in 5 days. And then in the summer of 2000, I biked from California to Covenant Soup Kitchen in 30 days in order to raise money and awareness. And it kind of, I'm quite honored that as a result of kind of what started with Bike for Bread and Nick and Patrick's ride, it rolled into the Plunge. I think part of it is that not everybody wants to or could bike from, faraway destinations, but everybody can sponsor. Everybody can sponsor someone jumping in the water, and everybody can also participate. You don't have to go in the water. You can stand on the shore. You can collect for a friend. You can be there on the beach holding a towel. But I was told a long time ago, and it kind of caved in the side of my head when I was planning one of these rides. I was adamant about trying to do pie charts and graphs and statistics and all the other stuff. There was a young man sitting next to me, said, Ray, I have an idea of what you can say. And I said, no, I don't have time. I need to get this done. And he was, 12-year-old kid. He put his head down. Or he's 9, put his head down. And then he said, well, how about this? I said, Matt, I don't have time. And then I felt bad for being an ass. And I said, okay, what is it? He said, how about this? How about feeding hungry people is a very important thing. And it silenced me. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to make a situation that is not complex, very complex. And it's not. Right. Feed people. Done. And if we can do that through jumping in a river, we're going to do that. And these guys that are on the rugby team now, they were children of the pandemic, and they kept this going. They made it virtual. So we have kids like Victor and Devin and Smitty that are jumping in the river on their own, documenting it, and then uploading it on Facebook. And this year we're going to be moving back towards the big group of everybody back together.
See, out of the mouth of babes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I just need to shut up.
You know what? I'm telling you, sometimes these young people have it right. I think when you look statistically, most people want to do good stuff. They want to give, they want to donate their time or get involved in charity. And for a lot of people, it's too hard. It's the sort of going out of the way. And as you said, Ray, I think especially when it comes to just this basic human idea of you got to feed people and you've got to keep people warm. We're moving into the winter months. And basically what we're asking people today is a couple of things here. You can go to a concert and spend $20, enjoy yourself at the Klaus Larsen Auditorium, the former Sears Building in North Windham. That doesn't take anything for people to do. If you like music, boy, that seems like kind of a no-brainer to me. And as you said, I just suffered a heart attack about a month ago. So jumping into the water probably isn't something I would
Not a good
do
idea.
this time through. Not that I
lot of that going around, right?
yeah. Not that I would be opposed to, because again, I've done this before. I've jumped into ice cold water for charity, and it is quite an experience if you've never done it. But as you said, so many people are standing outside the water and wrapping their friends up in towels. I would assume there's going to be a tent where people can get warmed up afterwards. Again, there's so many opportunities for people to come out here and help support the mission, help raise some funds here so we can make sure that people get some meals this cold winter.
Yes. And I everyone can do this. Everyone can be involved in this. It's not for people that are just going to rough it and go out in the water. It's across the board. You can help, you can make a difference. And the money that's raised, it doesn't go to Hartford, it doesn't go to Washington, it doesn't go to India. It stays in Willimantic. It stays in our community. So the money that you donate or raise will feed your neighbors. And that is just such a
right. I think it would surprise people too. Again, you sort of alluded to the idea of who the people are that are coming in for meals, and it's probably people that you'd be surprised. You probably know some of these people. Could be, as you said, high school friends of yours, or people that you've worked with. We do in this country, and I think sometimes in this state, have kind of a warped perception of who the needy actually are. And as you said, the needy could be you next year, so I think it's important for people to get super involved. And I don't think it takes much to care about fellow human beings. And I think, again, to have these opportunities here that anybody can partake in, again, without jumping into water, there's so many ways that you can help and really make a difference. And if you're like, I have 4 children, and I love to do things like this because I want my children to see.
That's right.
Go out of your way for people. That's what humanity is all about.
I was going to say, Joe, and Ray, I really appreciate that these young adults are so interested in helping and doing what's right for people. They're having fun at the same time, but their main goal is to help others.
Right.
And it's so much needed.
During the Christmas season, from Black Friday on, we are fortunate enough to be able to dress as Santa and collect money outside of local establishments. And it's for the plunge. And the rugby guys dress as well, usually after exams, but they dress as well. And I don't know how many times, as recent as Sunday, where someone was going through line and they'll go to pull their car away, and then they'll stop and they'll look back at me and they'll look into me and say, "Man, you have no idea how that place helped me up when I was having a tough time." Wow. And then they're gone. Wow. So I think a lot of times we get very jaded. We get jaded about those that are having a tough time, but we need to remember we shouldn't overlap judgment on being hungry. Nobody wants to be hungry. And if we have the ability to stop hunger, we have the ability to alleviate it or stifle it, we need to do that. I think that our society is judged on how we take care of those that can't take care of themselves. And a lot of times we fail. But Covenant Soup Kitchen is still swinging at that. I'm incredibly honored to be associated with that fine organization.
Can people volunteer? Can people in the area want to volunteer? And
absolutely. Go to covenantsoupkitchen.org, and there's contact information, ways to sign up, ways to contact people that are coordinating volunteers at the kitchen itself. Always needed. Always needed.
And I'm sure you need donations and food and canned foods.
Everything that you would use at your home, we can use.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then again, Sunday, December 18th, as we prep up for this coming up in February, you got 2 shows, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. The Foster Foundation and Klaus Larsen Roofing have teamed up with the Bread Box to present a show at the Klaus Larsen Auditorium, 29 Northridge Drive, the former Sears Building in North Windham. Great way to help your neighbors out in need and celebrate the holidays. Again, the show's coming up pretty quickly. You can visit eventbrite.com. Tickets are just $20. You can also visit the Facebook page for Klaus Larsen LLC, and you'll find all of the information there as well. Ray, let me ask you this, just for fun here for a minute. What's the best costumes you've seen in the history of this thing going on 12 years?
Well, years ago, a kid named Mike Campbell dressed as Borat, but in the singlet that was just it was staggering. That was pretty. That was again a rugby guy.
Yeah, of course.
But we also a couple years ago we had the president of our club. His nickname was Stork. Was dressed as Leonardo DiCaprio, and another guy on the team who was easily 300 pounds, named Bonesaw with a huge beard, was dressed as Kate Winslet, and they were reenacting Titanic. And he had a long flowing gown, and the best part of it is that after the plunge was over, we received an envelope that said, "This is in honor of the lovely couple from Titanic." And
great.
you just look at that and you just say, "Wow, here we go."
That's great.
We have people that are dressed as pirates. We have people that are dressed as rabbits, all very, very much themed outfits where everyone will be of one group or another. A lot of just absolutely fantastic outfits. My family, my brother and sister and brother-in-law and nephews and nieces, they always are part of something called Team Hello Kitty. That we dress in Hello Kitty outfits and in the water. But we were talking earlier about how this type of giving can really be done where you're thinking where I can't make a difference, or yes I can. My sister saw how successful this event was, and she lives in New Hampshire, and she started doing hers. It's called the Pantry Plunge, and now that's happening in Derry, New Hampshire. But all it takes is effort. It's just saying, listen, I can do this. Now, as kids, we weren't jumping in the water. I mean, my brother and sister and I weren't doing any type of this polar type of stuff. I remember thinking how stupid it was until we started. And, sometimes putting it out on the line is a great way to inspire.
Very much so. Ray,
a lot of inspiration, absolutely.
Really appreciate your time. We'll put up all the links on the CT Politics Live website, and we'll check in with you just before the 4th, see how sign up is going, and maybe we'll be able to come out there and participate. Michelle, you're welcome to jump in that water. I'll be on the beach.
I'll be on the sidelines collecting the money. How's that?
That sounds great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Ray, we appreciate your time very much. This has been wonderful.
I thank you for having me on. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Our pleasure. All right, Michelle, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will wrap things up on today's episode of Connecticut Politics Live.
Want to have your show on CT Politics? If you produce a show on CT political issues or commentary and want to play it to the world, contact us now at ctpolitics.tv. We'd love to have you part of the team.
Joe,
I got to tell you. Go ahead, Michelle.
No, I just want to mention the guest last week as well, and I want to mention to our viewers again, Connecticut Citizen Oil Co-op. It helps you with your oil bills, which are going up and up. Just look into that.
I think we talked a little bit earlier about, places where people can get help. I think it's so important. And, I got to tell you, Michelle, I'm not a smart man by any stretch of the imagination. I've picked up hitchhikers and given them a couple of dollars and taken them places because I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff, and I got to tell you,
You know, we both. I would do the same
in
thing.
my life, Michelle, I've never had a situation where I felt threatened or the person wasn't completely appreciative. And I tell my wife some of the crazy things that I do to
And
help
she wants to
people,
kill
and
you.
she's like, "You're out of your mind," and
Yeah.
and then, I don't know. There's just something about a cold night and somebody who's just down on their luck asking for help in the parking lot of your grocery store. It's hard to say no. This is a great
Absolutely.
way to not take those sorts of chances where, again, you can kind of come down. There's a lot of ways to contribute. Again, eventbrite.com if you want to get tickets for this amazing show, Boo at the Box. You could search that on Eventbrite. $20. I mean, if you're a concert kind of person, it's December. There's not a lot of shows right now. What a great show. We hit that lineup before. Pretty impressive lineup for sure. And again, if you don't have to jump in the water for the plunge for hunger, they always need people on the sidelines. And again, I would say if you're a parent and you've got kids and you want to set a good example for them, boy, this is the opportunity that you might just be looking for.
I mean, what's better than helping your fellow man? I can't think of anything better to do, especially around the holiday season.
I agree. There's something about the feeling that you get. My heart's been a little messed up lately. To do something like that for other people always makes me feel good, and it's something I love to share with my own children. And it doesn't take much to put out that effort to help your fellow man, and like you said, especially at the holidays. So
That's right. I agree. And I'm glad you're back, Joe. This has been great as usual. And I look forward to many more shows with you.
absolutely. We will be back tomorrow night at 5:00 with another edition of Connecticut Politics Live. Make sure you follow us on social media at Connecticut Politics TV. For Michelle Botello, I'm Joe Aguirre. We'll see you tomorrow night.